here. Admiral Lunney, when he was 17, joined the Navy. Was in high school in New York, just like many of you. For another 43 years, he continued to serve his country in the military. And then after that, and maybe in conjunction with some of that, in community service organizations, and as the past president of the Navy League, helped bring our unit into the organization at a larger level, and that has led to so much financial support that it's allowed us to do the stipends and the trips like we're making this Saturday. So we're very fortunate to have him here. Admiral Lunney is accompanied by his wife, Jo, who didn't want me to introduce her, but she Deputy Superintendent, so higher than any of your principals. So she's here to make sure you all behave. So she knows how it's supposed to happen. But since so many of our cadets are female, and since our CO is female, although most of the service in the military at that time was male, now even Sandy could go into the Army. Or the Marine Corps, right? All right, we're going to turn it over to the Admiral. We're going to close the door.
First, I want to thank you so much, Commander and Chief, for inviting me up here, because I've heard so much about this unit. And of course, my first occasion meeting Commander Gunning was with the Navy League. And he was so high and expressing everything that was good about this unit and how he was doing so many good things with good people. So I really appreciate that. There came a time, as the Commander mentioned, I enlisted in the Navy. There were probably a number of you out there that are about 17 years old, and it was on December 15th, 1944, when I turned 17. My father had been in the Navy in World War I in the submarine service. My older folk, we could not graduate from our training until we could identify with a flash screen of a profile of a plane. We had to identify that plane as to whether it was Japanese or was it American. To Pearl Harbor, we sailed to Pearl Harbor. We offloaded several hundred men at Pearl Harbor. They were bringing out and resupplying as many sailors as possible preparatory to a landing scheduled for November 1st, 1945 on home island in Japan called Kyushu. We then sailed, I think maybe the commander can give you an idea, down to the Marshall. We sailed from Pearl Harbor to the Marshall Islands. I think you can show them up there. And then from the at each of these points, at each of these points, we were offloading a number of sailors because we were bringing out thousands upon thousands of sailors to the Pacific for the final landings on the main Japanese islands. I was assigned to an LCI out of Saipan, and that was a landing craft infantry. You can see on there this is a logbook, the front page of a logbook, but I would have to tell you that what the indication on there, I don't have it in hand immediately, but there was an indication here, which may be of some interest to you in your training exercises here, of the number of ships. You can see we were assigned to a division, a squadron, a flotilla, and a fleet. The 9th Fleet is the fleet that we were assigned to. We had hundreds of naval ships out there at that time. That gives you an idea of the way we're classified and the way we're set up. We were with that division, that squadron, that flotilla, and that fleet. The 9th Fleet was how we operated. That summer, the atomic bombs had been dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But prior to that, you should be aware of the great sacrifices made in capturing the island of Saipan, where we were at that time. The Battle of Saipan took place from 15th of June to the 9th of July, 1944. 71,000 American soldiers and Marines landed on Saipan. Of that, over 3,500 were killed, 10,000 were wounded. 31,000 Japanese military were on the island at that time. There were a lot of civilians on the island. 24,000 of the Japanese were killed. 5,000 of them were suicide. We took 921 prisoners. 22,000 civilians that were living on the island also died, many by suicide. You've got to understand that the Japanese had instilled in these people, not only the military but the civilians, how cruel we were going to be if they were ever captured or we were ever able to control that island. And the poor Japanese were ready to commit suicide. At the northern end of Saipan, called Marby Point, as we used to round it on some of our trips, you could see the white bones of all the Japanese that had committed suicide by leaping off these cliffs for fear of being captured by the Americans. The bombs had been dropped on Japan. We were then ordered, because the war was slowing down at that time. The Japanese were considering a surrender. In October, that is in August 45, the bombs had been dropped. The Japanese surrendered on the 2nd of September, 1945.